REALTOR.
Nuclear.
Speaking of REALTOR, let's talk about REALTOR to sell your house in Lawrence, Kansas. Joe, tell me about Lawrence, Kansas. Like, first off, how does it work? Are you allowed to sell in Lawrence, Kansas?
I am. I don't do a lot of business in Lawrence. Were I to get a client who wanted to do business in Lawrence, I know that that's where you're based out of. That may be something you would handle, but Lawrence and the Kansas City Metro aren't all that far apart anymore. You know, the Kansas City Metro keeps growing west and towards Lawrence, and I wouldn't call Lawrence a suburb of Kansas City, but it's not that big of a deal to just run out to Lawrence anymore. And they are now a part of our regional association of realtors. There's that word again, realtor. And so it is easier for agents based in the KC Metro to go out and show in Lawrence and vice versa. They used to have their own board of realtors and their own lock boxes, and it used to be a lot more difficult to show in Lawrence. And that's actually a pretty recent thing. When you were buying your house in Lawrence, we got with a Lawrence real estate agent because I couldn't access the homes unless I joined the Lawrence Board of Realtors and got their iBox keys. So.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, it's a curious kind of situation. Whenever I was going through real estate, getting my license, and it made it sound like Lawrence is a little bit different than, say, which, tell me if this is true. Like, Lawrence is technically the KC Metro area, would you say?
It depends how you look at it. I mean, when they do, like, one of the ways I look at it, and I think when people think of metro areas, this is kind of what they think of is in terms of media markets. Like, you guys get the Kansas City TV and radio stations out there.
Right.
And so if it's kind of considered part of the Kansas City media market, it's kind of considered part of the metro. I could go either way on calling it part of the metro.
It's hard for me to think that. It's hard for me to think that it's part of the metro.
Yeah.
Like, I would, if people tell me to do it, I will. But it's,
Yeah.
it's a 45-minute drive from downtown Kansas City, on the Missouri side, I should say. But it's about a 30-minute drive to about I don't know, is it Lenexa or Leawood? It's about
Yeah, if that. I mean, you hit K10 from the west side of 435. You're really only on K10 for about 15 minutes. You know, some people, the way they drive, like, it's more like 5 or 6 minutes. But people do not obey the speed limit on K10. Of course, I do. I wouldn't admit to anything illegal here. But,
of course, you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
You drive like a saint.
I do. Well, and I've put curb feelers on my car, and no, I have not. But
yeah, I find myself, whenever I'm like putting together any kind of advertising materials or websites or social media stuff, I instinctually I am separating Lawrence. I'll say, like, Joe the Realtor works in the KC Metro area, Lawrence, Kansas, Topeka. You can if you want to, and I separate Lawrence from KC, the KC Metro. So yeah, something about that. I don't know if it's just I don't want to confuse people, because, like, if you have someone new coming to town and they're like, they want to live in the KC Metro and they're thinking Overland Park or Olathe, and you drive them 45 minutes to Lawrence, they'll be like, what are you doing? Why are we out here?
yeah, that's a good way to think of it too. Yeah, but yeah, Lawrence. I mean, it's only just now gotten as close as it has to the KC Metro, and being a college town, that stood on its own for, since like the 1830s. It's really got its own identity and kind of stands on its own out there. So yeah, I don't know. Even if development from what we consider the KC Metro ran right up to Lawrence, I think Lawrence would still keep a lot of its character.
I think you're right. And speaking of that, did you watch the big game?
I did. I assume you're referring to the KU NCAA championship game.
Yeah, I am referring to the NCAA KU men's basketball championship game of 2022 for the 2021-2022 season, where it was the KU Jayhawks versus the North Carolina Tar Heels and University of UNC Tar Heels, I should say. and that was something else. We were down by 16 at one point. Is that right, Joe?
At least 15 at the half.
Yeah.
And I was just like starting to, console myself by thinking, well, at least we made it this far this year. Wow. And then, yeah, the
That thing that
comeback.
that comeback was erased within like 6 minutes of the second
Yes.
half. It just evaporated like it never happened. I was like, I remember going into the second half because it was so weird. Um, Things were going UNC's way, and I remember looking at my wife, Tanya. You've met Tanya, and
Hmm.
I just look at her and I'm like, I feel like we're playing better though.
Yeah.
We're like they're getting more second chance offensive reboards. We're not making our free throws, but just feel like we're executing more. Uh we're just playing better, even though it's a weird thing to say when you're down 15. It's almost like a self-soothing, or I'm trying to cope with it. But I swear to God, I was like being honest. I'm like, I feel like we are doing better though, and then it came out in this first 6 minutes of the second half, and we just lit it up, and UNC went cold, and we took
Yes.
advantage.
Yeah. And I don't know that something about a come from behind win. I don't want to, I mean, being a KU grad myself, they're all special, but there's something a little more like to it when you come from behind and you really earn it. But but yeah, that second half they just came out so hot and never let up, and that was it. That was it. That was,
We need
you
to
build.
check. We need to check last 2009 real estate prices. I wonder if like real estate prices went up. Probably not in 2009. I wonder if this will have any effects on our real estate market. Just like home to the world champion or the NCAA champions, or who
You
knows?
know, I don't know that it affects price much, but big events, like when the Royals were in the playoffs for 2 years in a row, those baseball playoffs draw out so long. I remember those falls in 2014 and 2015, they were pretty quiet. You know, usually we start to see seasonal slowdowns and, in around Thanksgiving, maybe a little before, but during baseball playoff season in 14 and 15, people were so starved for a good baseball team. Everybody just dropped everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it, it was so funny. I can't prove it, but anecdotally, my observation, it just seems like right after the World Series and especially after New Year's, things just came back so quickly. And I really feel like that had an effect on people shopping for homes.
They just
Um,
didn't want to. They put off buying a home for a little bit so they can enjoy the
yeah.
baseball experience and then pick it back up as soon as it was ready to go.
I mean, if you remember 14 and 15 in the fall in Kansas City, first of all, everybody turned everything blue that they could. And second of all, when there was a playoff game, I mean, God help you if you needed emergency surgery or anything like that. I don't think anybody was working. It's like,
I remember I was living in downtown Kansas City whenever that happened, and that was something very special. But yeah, um, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's more of I think of Lawrence in terms of like I can't imagine a national championship like that, but it adds to kind of the brand that is Lawrence and the experience that is Lawrence. Like if
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's always cool to see your town get national attention, and they have like you're watching ESPN or you're watching CBS and you see Mass Street on there, and like, oh, that's fun. I hang out there all the time.
Yeah.
And
Well, for Lawrence and for Kansas in general too, I like anything that reinforces the basketball tradition in Kansas. I think there are a few states people think of like Indiana, North Carolina, and Kansas when they think of basketball, and I think more championships just adds to the richness of that tradition and that history, and really really puts us in, I guess, elite company with I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one who thinks this way. Basketball states. Like
mhm.
who just casual. Brian, what are your favorite basketball states? But I think Kansas earns that if
Well,
there is such a thing.
college basketball, I suppose.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
NBA in
true.
some.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah, that's true.
you ever watch like an NBA game versus a college game? And like, obviously, we're college
Yeah,
basketball fans. We don't really have an NBA
yeah.
to follow. But then if you, I do watch the playoffs in the NBA, and I'm like, oh my god, this game is so much faster. It is unbelievable. Everyone there is so good. And actually, it was I think it was Kevin Durant was on a podcast with it was a JJ Redick or another player. I think it was him. And the people were like, I remember one of the questions they get asked is like, why don't you play defense? And he's like, look, it's not that we don't know how to play defense. It's just that everyone is really good. And those 2-3 sets that you see, or these sets that they do in college, don't work. Everyone's like one-on-one. They're making a big play. Everyone can maneuver. Everyone's fast. It doesn't work that way. So he was like getting kind of mad about it. It's like, we know how to play defense, damn it. It's just everyone's so good.
Yeah, in the NBA, it almost looks like guys can just score at will, you know. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's amazing how different the games are. Um, you know, the guys in the NBA are, I mean, college players are big, but NBA guys, you know, they're NFL size guys now. You know,
Oh yeah,
they're huge.
big and fast, and yeah, it's just that it's just when you take the best of a very challenging league like the NCAA men's basketball. All right, the best ones, which is the top 3%, go here. I'm like,